you want to know my opinion on what I think, just keep on watching. Hey guys, what's good? It's your girl Nisi here and I'm back with another video, and in today's video a huge big trigger warning. As you already know by the title and the thumbnail, I'm going to be talking about the woman that's in Georgia in America who's been pronounced brain dead, but they're keeping her alive on like life support because she's pregnant. Now Georgia's one of those states where you can't have a termination. So because when she passed, she was pregnant and I think she was 6 weeks plus, and now she's currently like around the 20 weeks. So like, you know what I mean? Do the maths, like it's crazy. The family have no say, her partner or baby daddy has no say. Like this is insane. She died like, I think there was blood clots, I don't know for sure. But basically when she went to the hospital complaining about, migraines, dizziness, the usual, they just gave her some medication and sent her on her way. Again, in pregnancy, black women are the most, out of all the women and all the races, we're the most to die during pregnancy. And yeah, they've obviously done an autopsy and it looks like she had bleeding on the brain and she had blood clots. And it's just so sad. Beautiful, beautiful woman. I'll put a picture there. She does have a son. And even for him, this is so confusing. He thinks that she's just sleeping. This is heartbreaking for a mom. Like, you know what I mean? I'm a mother. I couldn't imagine my daughter being dead. But, you know what I mean? The state, the country's keeping her alive just because she's pregnant. Now, with this, it's not guaranteed that the baby will survive or the baby will have a normal life. Obviously they're doing extra scans and things like that. And when you do a scan, they can see stuff on the baby's like brain. So, you know what I mean? The baby could come out blind, disabled, like, you know what I mean? Severely learning difficulties, like, and it's just like with the medical care in America, like who's paying for all this? Because I know the family's not, because it's like we don't even want this, they don't have a say, but they definitely don't want this beautiful black woman at that being kept alive just because she's pregnant, you know what I mean? But yeah, guys, let's get into people's reactions. I'm sorry, I'm gonna roll the news clip first just so they can tell you, but I'm flabbergasted that this is crazy.
30-year-old Adriana Smith was
So
about 9
beautiful.
weeks pregnant when she started having bad headaches in February.
They gave her some medication, but they didn't do any tests.
The next morning, Adriana's boyfriend noticed something was terribly wrong. Unfortunately, there was nothing doctors could do. Doctors declared Adriana brain dead. Because of Georgia's heartbeat bill, which bans abortions after a fetal heartbeat is detected, her family says they weren't given any say in what happens next. Now, 21 weeks pregnant, her baby's health uncertain.
My grandson may be blind, may not be able to walk, wheelchair bound. We don't know if he'll live once she has him. And I'm not saying that we would have chose to terminate her pregnancy. What I'm saying is we should have had a choice.
Yeah, guys, so you just heard that. Praise to the mom, because even though her daughter's gone, she's still fighting. Like, there's literally just no rights. Like, this is crazy. Like, she's a corpse because she's obviously not alive. But then, you know what I mean? They've still got her hooked up on machines just because she's pregnant. Like, when I say this is insane, this is insane. Like, I feel like it's one of those weird, twisted scientific films. Like, what is this? Like, what's actually going on? But yeah, 30 years old, so young, so beautiful, had, the rest of her life ahead of her. Again, she went to the doctor, she did the right thing, she went to hospital, like the mother said, they just gave her medication and sent her on her way. And then sadly, you know what I mean, she passed. Like, it's just so sad. But yeah, let's get into some people's reactions.
So they're keeping a pregnant woman alive in Georgia who's brain dead because she's 20 weeks pregnant, and they said that they can't take her off life support because that would be an abortion. And it would be one thing if that's what she said her wish was, or her family's wish even, but it's against her family's wishes. Let me say that again. They are keeping a pregnant woman who was dead alive for her fetus, so she's literally just an incubator now, while her older son watches her and thinks that she's just sleeping. And if that doesn't make you throw up, then you, my friend, are the one who is dead inside. When will you stand up and speak out against these abortion bans? When it affects you? It's so sick. So sick.
A human incubator. You know, I love how she had to repeat it. Like, did you hear me? They're keeping a brain dead woman, black woman at that, keeping her alive because she's pregnant. I would say I get it, but I don't get it. But I do get like these red states and their laws. As soon as you're pregnant, it's literally like a death sentence. Doesn't matter if you could die or the baby could be disabled. You have to have that child. Like, this is insane. The fact that they don't want to let this woman, be buried, die peacefully, because it would be seen as an abortion. I'm like, no, abortion is when you go down to the clinic and you take something and you get rid of the child or the fetus, whatever you want to class it as. Letting this woman being brain dead, like, that's not an abortion. Like, you know what I mean? We all know with this, it's just about having control. It's nothing to do with pro-life and pro-choice and, you know what I mean, being pregnant, not pregnant. This is just totally control. And it's like she said, when are we gonna like stand up? Like, you know what I mean? I don't believe in abortions because I do believe like kids are a blessing, but I do understand why people do get abortions. You either not ready, you either were like raped. Like, there's different reasons in it. I know people personally who have had them. Listen, it's their life, their choice, in it. Just me personally, I don't think I could do it. And then the only time I would do it if I was raped, God forbid. But this is all about control. This has got nothing to do with, what I mean, pro-life or like, abortion is wrong. And I did watch probably like a year ago a good debate where it was pro-life and, you know what I mean, pro-abortion. If you've not seen it, it's on YouTube. Do check it out. It was good. It's mad because obviously the pro-choice people were like, well, what about if the woman was raped? Like, why do you think she should have that? And they were just like, it's not the kid's fault. It's not the baby's fault. You still have that. I'm just like, let someone rape you and you get pregnant and see if you're, you know what I mean? See if you're going to feel the same way. Because obviously a lot of men are the ones who's put this in place or as a law. Yous don't have to carry, yous don't have to give birth, that have to be, post trauma, you know what I mean, post-mortem. Like, you don't have to do all that stuff that we have to deal with after the weight gain, the weight loss, our emotions, the hair loss, hair growth. Like, there's just so much that happens during pregnancy. It's not as beautiful or roses as you think it is. Some people really go through it. Some people can't cope and they end up taking their own life or taking the babies. Like, you know what I mean? Like, pregnancy is literally, and with women, especially black women, it's the closest we'll ever be to death again. A lot of people, you know what I mean? A lot of black women, they do get pregnant or whatnot. When it's time to give birth, they end up sadly passing. But yeah, this is really scary. Obviously, this reminds me a lot of Handmaid's Tale, the TV series. If you're not familiar with it, it's where they kidnap a group of women, kidnap them. It's like a breeding farm, I guess it might be called, where they just force these women to have babies for rich couples and rich people. I'll put the picture there. It's on most like streaming platforms, Amazon, Disney. So do check it out. But that's what it's given. Like, as women, and especially if you live in a red state, you have no control. Absolutely, even dead. You know what I mean? She's brain dead and she has no control. And obviously she's not gonna have control because she's dead, but even her family, her next of kin, they have no say. Like, when I say my mind is blown, I was just like, nah, I definitely need to do a video on this. I know this is in America, but again, America has a big influence on the world. So if it can happen in America, it can happen anywhere. And even in Ireland, I'm not sure what part, but I know a lot of people, like, they have strict abortion laws in Ireland. I don't know if it's north or south. And a lot of the Irish girls had to come over to the UK to have an abortion, then obviously go back because, yeah, they're like really strict Catholics. So, yeah, this is mad.
They are keeping a black woman on life support for her fetus. They are keeping a black woman on life support for her fetus. She is brain dead and has been so for weeks. She has been brain dead longer than she was previously pregnant before she became brain dead. And they are keeping her medically alive for her fetus. This is Adriana Smith, 30-year-old black woman in Georgia who was declared brain dead and has been for 90 days. And Georgia is forcing her family to keep her alive, right? Because she's brain dead because of her fetus, because she was pregnant before she became brain dead. Mind you, and all of this is happening against the will of the family. Adriana's mother is calling this experience torture. Adriana, a 30-year-old registered nurse and mother, suffered multiple blood clots in her brain and was declared brain dead 90 days ago. Because she was 9 weeks pregnant, Georgia banned most abortions. The hospital reportedly told the family she will need to be kept alive. She is being used as a human incubator. And she's dead. We have officially entered the dark times. We have officially entered dark times. And I would be curious if they would even attempt to do this on anyone else but black people. We've all seen numerous examples throughout history of how they've experimented on black folks, both with our consent and without our consent. And when I say consent, I do not mean informed consent, right? They oftentimes lied to the individuals that they were experimenting on about what they were actually doing. And I'm just wondering, at what point do we shut it down? Like, what needs to happen for all of us to shut it down?
She made some really good points. Sorry, I'm just deep in it. Like, even the fact that she said she's been dead during her pregnancy more than she's been alive, because when she first passed, she was only like 6 weeks, and now she's like 20 weeks plus. But you know what? I love that she touched on that. Obviously, it's funny how they've done this. So, this is the first time anything like this has been done. And out of all the races, it just had to be done on a black woman. Like, what? You know what I mean? I don't believe in coincidences, but you know what I mean? It's just funny how they had to do it on a black woman. And like she said, we know from like slavery days in history, they've always done experiments, because this is what it's giving. It's giving one huge science experiment. They want to see if the baby survives. So then they know for in the future for other women, no abortion. It doesn't matter if you've been in a car crash, or you know what I mean. This is a huge experiment, and they just had to do it on a black woman. And again, like she said, they've been doing this from back in the day with our consent and without our consent, you know what I mean? But yeah, I can't even say I don't want the baby to survive, because if the baby does survive, then they're gonna get excited, and they're gonna like put it as a law, like doesn't matter, you know what I mean? If the person's brain dead, we're gonna keep you alive, and you're going to have that baby. But it's just a lot. Like, who's gonna look after the baby after? Is it the family? Is it her partner? Like, I don't know if she was still with him. Like, this is too much. And I just think it's weird, because really, that baby should be with its mother. Like, that baby should have passed also. Like, mm-mm. This is wrong on so many levels. But yeah, she made some really good points. I just, like she said, it's just funny that it just had to be a black woman. I'm sorry, I have to highlight that, because this would never happen to a white woman. Never, ever. They could never. Mm-mm.
Adriana Smith. Say her name, look up her story. A Georgia woman, 30 years old, was declared brain dead 90 days ago. But because she was 9 weeks pregnant, the doctors are keeping her body alive as a literal incubator until she is 32 weeks. And there is literally no guarantee that that child will survive either. Her child, her son, her living child right now, just thinks mommy is sleeping. Her family's advocating for her right now, and they're being told there is nothing you can do because of the heartbeat bill. This woman was a nurse, a mother, someone's partner, someone's daughter, and the state of Georgia says you don't matter. We're in charge now. She's been dead for 90 days. And you want to keep her body alive another 11 weeks for what? To prove a point? At this point, you're just fucking experimenting on women again. Like, you don't care at all about the infant in her body. You don't care. You're experimenting. You want to see what happens, right? Y'all are fucking sick. And you know what? At this point, I really do feel like this nation might be a lost cause.
Adriana Smith, Adriana Smith, Adriana Smith. Say her name. shout out to all the women, doesn't matter what color, but especially the white ones, because we need you. Because when it's black women, we're complaining, da 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 da. Basically, no one's listening to us. So I'm loving how many like Caucasians, Asians are speaking about this. But yeah, I love how she spoke on her life. A 30-year-old beautiful black woman. She already has a child. She was a nurse. So can you imagine? It's the same industry keeping well, not keeping you alive. Well, I guess brain dead. It's one of those. It's so techy because technically you're dead, but it's the machines that are doing everything for you. But basically, it's the industry that work in that's still keeping you here because she should have been buried by now. You know what I mean? And keeping your baby alive. But yeah, like I agree with what she said. This is just one big sick experiment. Nothing more, nothing less. But shout out to her, and like she said, say her name. And we need to put our foot down because anyhow, this is success and this child's gonna be fine. Which obviously we do want that because I wouldn't want the family to deal with a child with disabilities and health problems. Like they're dealing with enough. Just the fact that they've not been able to bury their family member, it's too much. But anyhow, this is successful for the future going ahead. Anyone that's, brain dead, those along those lines, like if you're pregnant, it's a wrap and your family have no say. This is insane.
So there is a pregnant, brain dead black woman whose body is currently being used as an incubator. Like against the family's wishes, she is being kept on a machine that keeps her body alive in order to incubate this baby and bring it to full term. And like, this is not about the baby. This is about policing women's bodies, policing women's rights, telling women what they have the right to do and what not to do. This has nothing to do with, oh, let's save the baby, because this is against the family's wishes. They don't wish for her to stay on this machine and bring this baby to full term. Like, what? And it's also like them trying to experiment or like do some sort of like testing, whatever the fuck they're trying to do. And it just seems like a shortened version of Henrietta Lacks. Because again, this is a black woman that this is happening to. And like the family doesn't get to say goodbye because like she's already in a state where she's not able to like communicate. And like the problem is she went in for issues with, her brain beforehand and they didn't do all the testing and then sent her home and then this happens and then now they're literally keeping her body as basically an incubator for a baby to be carried to full term against her family's wishes. Like, what the actual fuck is going on? I know, obviously, it's literally them trying to police women's bodies and also trying to test and experiment and do whatever the fuck, but, like, what the actual fuck? Seriously.
Listen, I agree with him. What the actual AF, like, policing women's bodies, like, they've already been doing that, telling us what to wear, what we can do, when we can do it, But this is just a whole nother level. Like, the woman has passed, like, she's died and she's brain dead and she's still here. And like he said, the family have no choice. Like this baby shouldn't be here, just like she should be in the ground. And like he said, the family's not even had chance to say goodbye. I'm trying to wonder what she looks like, because mate, when you see a person that's passed, 2 days after the pass, they don't look the same. But again, brain dead, it's a weird one. Like she's obviously dead, but the machines are keeping her alive because obviously the baby's getting bigger, it's growing. But like he said, this is just policing women's bodies, and it's just a huge experiment. It's giving flipping. I know he said something, but it's giving him what you call it, that monster. Oh gosh, I'll have to put the picture. I can't remember because my mind's just not Dracula. What's that? What's that weird where the scientists did a mad experiment? But yeah, that's what it's given. Like, it's so wrong on so many levels. Mm-mm.
Please tell me a world where it makes sense that a 30-year-old black woman in the state of Georgia who has been brain dead for over 90 days has been kept on life support simply because at the time of her being declared brain dead, she was 9 weeks pregnant. And because Georgia has such strict abortion laws that makes it a crime to terminate pregnancy after 6 weeks, these doctors, their hands are tied and they literally cannot terminate the pregnancy despite the fact that this woman is brain dead. But before I even talk about how this is unethical and immoral, let's talk about the fact that her even being brain dead is a result of medical negligence and, dare I say, racism. them. Because over 90 days ago, back in February, Adriana Smith actually went to the hospital for strong headaches and migraines. And surprise, surprise, they didn't run any tests. They didn't do a CT scan. All they did was give her medication for her headaches. Had they run a scan, they would have realized she had blood clots on her brain. But what's new? We already know there is very little protection for Black maternal health. Even outside of pregnancy, we know that people just don't believe Black women. But what's actually pissing me off about this story even more is the fact that her family does not want her to be on life support. And despite her mother's wishes, because politicians have wielded their power over all of our bodies, her daughter has now become an incubator for a fetus that cannot live outside of her body by itself. In fact, in Georgia, a fetus can't live outside of the body until 32 weeks. So you know what that means? They're going to keep this girl on life support from 9 weeks to 32 weeks, and then will induce her. They're going to induce labor on a brain dead, unconscious woman. And there's more. Not only does the family not have any decision-making power, they're also incurring the medical cost, the bills. On top of the fact that they have already proven via ultrasound that this fetus has fluid on its brain, meaning not only is there a chance of low survival, there is a chance of serious defect and disability. So there's a clear disregard for the grieving family, a clear disregard for the unconscious and brain dead mother, and a clear disregard for the fetus, but y'all claim to be pro-life. Baby, no. Come a little closer. You're pro-birth. And as a Black woman who is currently 27 weeks pregnant, I am disgusted. This whole story is just disgusting.
Ooh, she said so much, I don't even know where to start. Well, first of all, let's start with when she said in Georgia, a baby can't live outside, you know what I mean, outside the womb until it's 32 weeks. But when she passed, she was only 9 weeks, and it's just like, and like she said, they're gonna induce her as soon as she hits 32 weeks. And just because the baby's obviously not developed the normal way, I don't think it's gonna have a high survival rate. So this is just like, this is stupid. So it's sad because I know some doctors will probably think, you know, like she said, morally, this is not right. I know some doctors would obviously would love to turn off the machine, but they can't because they will go prison because that will be seen as murder, even though she's already dead, but murder of the baby. The medical bills, like I spoke on earlier on, why is the family like, listen, they're gonna have to send me to jail because yo, if this was my sis, I am not paying for this because this is not what we want. Like she stated, the family does not want her on life support machine. And it's so sad because like she said, this is just straight up racism, neglect. You know what I mean? She went into the hospital complaining about headaches and they didn't take it seriously and they just gave her some medication and sent her on her way. They didn't run no test. And again, when you're pregnant, so much stuff happens to your body, just everything. So they therefore should have run tests and whatnot, whatnot. I suffer from severe like headaches, migraines. I'm on medication. Listen, it's nothing to play with. You know what I mean? I've had blackouts, throwing up, just blurry, not being able to drive. You know, sometimes it comes on when I literally can't drive. Like, you know what I mean? But yeah, everything she said, I agree with. Again, it's just going back to this is just some sick, twisted experiment. That's it, period. But just the fact that they're putting this all on the family, mm-mm, crazy. And then obviously, like she said, how are they gonna induce a brain dead woman? Like, you know what I mean? They're gonna have to break her waters and just, you know, the human body is amazing, but oh my gosh, the human body versus science versus medical, like, what is this? This is some weird, twisted film. This is what it's giving. Like, no, I'm not having it. Like, this is so wrong on so many levels. And if I was working in the hospital, you know what I mean, I had to see this. Like, mm-mm. I love Grey's Anatomy because there's doctors in there that shouldn't have done stuff. You know what I mean? It's against the law, against the rules, but they still did it. Obviously, that's a drama. But in real life, if a doctor was to turn off the machine or do something to this woman, they could end up in prison. And not any little time. They could, you know what I mean? 20 years to life or something like that because it's going to be seen as murder. Mm.
I live in a red state, and let me just say that if I'm being used as an incubator and my family no longer gets to make the decisions, this is my public service announcement for a mob to storm the hospital and rip my body from those machines and throw it on the steps of Congress. We're not even human to them. We're not even human, right? We're just vectors to create able-bodied workers to help fund their genocides and their yachts and their mansions. This has nothing to do with babies and being pro-life, and it is all about control.
Listen, I feel the way she feels. Like, shout out to everyone that lives in a red state, the women. I feel for you because you just have to be really, you have to be careful, like, all houses. Oh, but yeah, I'm with her. If anything like this ever happens to me, listen, I'm putting out my statement. Kill me, you know what I mean? Like, if I'm already brain dead, I'm already gone. Take me the F out and throw me, you know what I mean? I love how she's like, I need a mob to come and storm in, get my body and throw me on the steps of Congress. Like, I know that's right. Obviously, them mobsters, they're not trying to go prison for you, but I get her point. Like, we get what she's trying to say. Like, this is what I mean. It's just so wrong on so many levels. And again, I'm so happy that women of all races are speaking up. We need more of this because, again, if this is a success, the next person they're coming to is white, Asian, Hispanic. You know what I mean? Mm-mm. So wrong, man. So wrong on so many levels.
She's brain dead, but the hospital keeps her alive not for her, but for her unborn child, and her family has no say in it. This is not a sci-fi movie. This is Adriana Smith's story, a 30-year-old woman in Georgia declared brain dead, yet still hooked up to machines. This is Adriana Smith's story, a 30-year-old woman in Georgia declared brain dead, yet still hooked up to machines because she was 9 weeks pregnant. And under Georgia law, the fetus has more legal protection than Adriana herself. Her mother's grieving, her son is traumatized, but the hospital says their hands are tied. They are legally forced to keep her body functioning as an incubator. So who is paying for the months of care? Who covers the bills if the baby is born with severe disabilities? And more importantly, who gets to decide? The family is being dragged through a nightmare, not by nature, but by policy, by lawmakers who never met Adriana, who never asked what she wanted. And to those of us in the Caribbean and diaspora, Jamaican, Trinidad, Bajan, wherever you're from, this is why we need to watch the laws we adopt. This could happen anywhere. If a woman has no control over her body even after death, what does that say about the living? Should the family have a choice? Comment your thoughts.
Shout out to that woman. She spoke some really good facts. The mother is grieving. Her child is traumatized and he must be confused. Listen, I like how she said the fetus has got more rights than, you know what I mean, than the mother. Because that's what it's given. She's brain dead. Like, she's already gone. Let them go. But they're like, no, she's pregnant. She's over 9 weeks. We have to keep her alive. And it's like, what? But like she said, this is not a sci-fi movie. Like, this is what it's given. And what I wanted to say before, it was Frankenstein. Like, you know how that scientist did this, made all these mistakes, and then created this monster. This is what it's given. It's giving Frankenstein. But yeah, policing our bodies. This is all about control, especially controlling black women. And like she said, the Caribbean, like she said, watch the laws that you adopt from America, from the UK, and other countries or westernized countries because what I mean? Not everything's good, you know what I mean, from America, from the UK, you know what I mean? And this is definitely not one of them. And with the Caribbean and the islands and Africa and places like that, grape happens like there's no tomorrow, you know what I mean? A lot of crime, they have really crime rates and stuff like that. But yeah, I agree with everything she said. Like she said, the medical bills, if the baby ends up being severely disabled or you know what I mean, who's gonna look after the child, pay for it, like all this, and this is what I'm saying. And I love how she touched on these congressmen who have never met, the mother ever, but they know what's best for her and that she needs to keep this pregnancy going. And it's just like, how's the law more important or has more say than the family? Like, please, can someone explain and make this make sense?
I'm speaking today as a nurse, a legal consultant, and most importantly, a Black woman with a voice in healthcare and the law. And let me tell you something. In all of my years of working on critical cases, I have never encountered anything like this. Adriana Smith, 30 years old, a nurse, a mother, declared brain dead after suffering a catastrophic medical emergency. In our field, that's not a coma, that's legal death. Brain death means no cerebral activity, no recovery. But because Adriana was just 9 weeks pregnant at the time, she's still on life support. Not for her, but for the fetus for 90 plus days. And her family, her mother, her partner, her young son, who thinks she's asleep, they've been told their voices don't matter because of Georgia's heartbeat law. The law says once fetal cardiac activity is detected around 6 weeks, no termination, no exceptions for brain death, no acknowledgement of Adriana's legal status as deceased. So her body is being medically sustained, intubated, monitored, housed in the ICU to grow a fetus with an unknown prognosis. Doctors already suspect fluid on the brain. The outcome is uncertain. This isn't just tragic, it is absolutely traumatizing. And it raises ethical and legal questions we just cannot ignore. Who decides care when the patient is legally dead? Why is the family's legal authority being denied? And what precedent does this set for bodily autonomy, especially for Black women? Nurses are trained to advocate. Legal consultants, such as myself, are trained to analyze the gaps. In this case, this is a massive gaping hole in law and humanity. I stand with Adriana's family, and I demand the law catch up with both medical science and compassion. Tell me, should a legally dead woman's body be forced to carry a pregnancy because of the law?
Adriana Smith, say her name. I like how she spoke on, like she said, she's a nurse and a legal consultant, but most importantly, she's a Black woman. And the same way this has happened to Adrian, this can happen to her. And like she said, she's never seen anything like this. And this is what I'm saying, it's an experiment. This has never been done. This is the first time. And I just prayers to the family and friends because they are going through it. This is so traumatizing and just so disgusting. And this is why we need to protest and put our foot down. And this could never happen again. You know what I mean? But I agree with everything she said. Like, just pray to the family. Like, I can't imagine what they're going through. And again, the invoice, the bills, and it's not even like they're just paying for this. Then they've got to pay for a funeral because obviously once she's delivered the baby, then funeral arrangements have to happen. You know what I mean? And this could have all been avoided from when she went to them and was like, if they run tests when she had the headaches, you know what I mean? But beautiful, beautiful woman, 30 years old, has a child already and has had a whole life ahead of her. Yeah, guys, this is a really sad one. But yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, please. And yeah, just stay safe. And for the people that live in red states, when you're having intercourse or anything like, just do take all the precautions you can take because once you're pregnant, you know what I mean, that's it. Please like, comment, subscribe, and share this video. Stay safe, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye.